Hey, it's Andrew here, and welcome to the eCommerce Fuel Podcast, the show dedicated to 7- and 8-figure e-commerce brand owners building incredible businesses and amazing lives. And it's the very end / beginning of a new year. My favorite time of year, this is probably my favorite episode of the year to do. We've done it for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, maybe, I don't know how many years, but at least half a dozen, if not more. And Bill, do you remember how many years we've been doing this?
I don't, but it's probably is 6 or 7 or more. This is my favorite episode of the year too.
It's super, super fun. And of course, we come on and pretend like we have any kind of edge on predicting the matters of the world or the universe or the e-commerce world. And even though we don't, it's still wildly entertaining to not only make predictions about this year, 2024, but look back on last year and see where we got lucky or where we just completely missed the mark on making predictions. Which is probably, I don't know, if I was listening, that would be my favorite part, is just watching two people, have to revisit the egregious and way over their skis predictions from the previous year, which is where we'll start, of course.
You got to keep it honest, though. Like, it's easy to make predictions and then everybody forgets about your predictions. So I think the fact that I know I got to answer to myself in a year makes me think hard before this episode.
Oh, it does. It totally does. Because you want to put these things down, but you're just like, oh man, it's like when you book that apppintment, like somebody reaches out and you're like, I don't really want to book this appointment, or this isn't a good fit.
Colonoscopy appointment? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that would qualify definitely as one. Although I don't know, I think future Andrew might actually say he was actually glad he did that for not dying a painful death. But like the ones where 3 months in the future, it doesn't feel real, right? Like it's a long ways away, and then 3 months comes and you're like, why didn't past Andrew take this more seriously? That is very much a part of the predictions process here, writing them down. You write a bunch down, you scratch them out. Do you do that too, I'm guessing?
Oh yeah. I had to cull it down to 5 that I really believed in.
Yeah. Well, we should dive into it because we got a ton to go through and only about an hour to do this all. So we're going to get right into it. So I figured first, of course, we're going to go into our predictions from 2024. And this year, we're going to have it a little bit different. I'm going to cue each one up for us, and then we're going to take a quick trip back to last year and hear about 15, 20 seconds of our prediction on it. So my first one was talking about that we're going to see 2 more blow-ups on the scale of FTX and Enron, plus a market correction. Let's go back and listen to that one. And Cash Flow Podcasting, if you can cut this and go back last year, if you need them, I got the timestamps for all of these. But if you can splice and keep them pretty brief, please, but maybe, do the little transition music, the dreamy music, go back, 20 seconds at the most, maybe 30 seconds, and then bring it back to the current time. All right, Bill, and kind of per tradition, I'll kind of rate myself on this one, and then you can kind of fact check me, keep me honest. So I would say I got this one, I'd say 2/3 right. And the 2 ones, so these weren't not fraud based. I don't think we saw any huge, massive fraud based things that brought down on the level of FTX or Enron. But the 2 that come to mind for me is one, Silicon Valley Bank, right? March 10th. I don't think anyone would have seen, even 3 or 4 days before, the speed at which this collapsed was pretty staggering. And it wasn't fraud, but it was really, really poor interest rate risk hedging. I believe what happened in a nutshell is they just bought way too many long dated treasuries that went down dramatically as interest rates rose, and it caused a bank run, and the whole thing went under. And then secondly, Credit Suisse, probably less so. I think they've kind of had a longer track record of kind of, a little bit of mismanagement. But still, the fact that like that long-standing of an institution also pretty much went under. I'm less familiar with the details there, but had to get bought out of, more or less bankruptcy, I believe. So not fraud-based, but 2 pretty big giants went down in unsuspected ways. So I'm going to give myself 60%, 2/3 on this.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I mean, the funny thing, the SVB one, in retrospect, it seems so obvious, right? But nobody saw it coming. So you're right. And that was kind of both SVB and Credit Suisse were interest rate related, and which is going to play into some of our future predictions too.
Yeah, I think you and I may have a couple, and we have not shared our predictions with each other on this, so which always makes it interesting because you can get the real-time reactions on these. Bill, why don't you go through your first prediction from last year? And your first prediction was that we were going to see a recession in 2023. Let's go back and listen to that. All right, Bill, how would you grade yourself on this one?
I don't know. I don't think I get a lot of marks. I mean, the market is up which is crazy this year. I did not see that coming, even with interest rates being up. I did predict that recession would moderate in the back half of the year. So that's a plus. I get credit for that. But honestly, I was sure we were going to have a recession this year, and it looks like the soft landing might be a reality.
Yeah. I mean, technically recession is what, like 2 quarters of negative GDP growth if you're like, super, super geeky economist. But even, which I don't think we had, but even the market, like it's weird. The hiring market seems a little bit stronger we'll talk about it here in a minute. But even just overall hiring market is like unemployment still really low. It's starting to feel weaker, but I don't think anyone would say we've hit a recession quite yet. So
I don't get much credit for that one.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I'm happy. Like, that's great. I'm considered re-predicting it again for next year, but I'm not sure what's going to happen next year. This
is really just an opportunity for you and I to hedge either way. Like, it's a win-win situation, right? Like, you have a recession, that's unfortunate, but then you actually get a point on the. I thought about that too. Like, right. make some bets.
I lost tons of money, but at least I was right on my ECF podcast prediction.
100%, a slight silver lining. All right. My second prediction from last year was about the labor market. Let's go ahead and hear that one from last year. So again, a labor market turning dramatically in 2023. I think we both had this one, Bill. So maybe we can both self rate ourselves on the prediction. I would give myself maybe half credit for this. You look at the unemployment. I should look these numbers up. The unemployment rate overall has not changed hardly at all. I think it was 3.5% seasonally adjusted last December. It's about 3.7% in November of this year. But if you look anecdotally, and maybe it's just because we're more tech focused and e-commerce focused, a lot of tech layoffs, seen those the last 6 to 9 months. It seems like for hiring, candidates can't just throw out crazy expectations and offers and expect to get them. They're having to work more. They don't have quite as much leverage. So I feel for kind of the positions that a lot of people listening to this podcast for, not super entry level, but medium to leadership roles. I think those have gotten swung back the other direction towards employers, but still, I mean, really low unemployment overall. So I'd give myself 50%. What do you think?
Yeah. And I mean, I think my prediction was a little bit more that it would get a lot easier to hire in 2023 than it was in 2022. Thinking back to when we recorded the end of 2022, the labor market was just so tight. It was really hard to hire. Remote workers had all kinds of options. Even in-person labor, the per hour rate was through the roof. Hiring warehouse labor was really hard. People were really feeling a pinch. And I predicted that it would swing back to kind of more employer power in 2023. And I have felt that as an employer. I found it easier to recruit higher quality talent. They haven't had completely absurd asks. It just feels like a more balanced supply demand market now.
Yeah, agreed. So what would you give yourself on your prediction from last year?
I think it's pretty good. 6 or 7.
6 or 7? 70%. I like it. Your next one from last year was about domestic sourcing. So let's go ahead and listen to that one. All right, Bill. So domestic sourcing coming back. How do you think that played out?
So I have to drink my own medicine here. This was not a very smart prediction. It was not specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time bound because that to come back is not really that specific. But I do think, there was some element of this. A lot of people are trying to re-onshore stuff, in Mexico, in other places that are not China. I mean, you've got a big growth in Vietnam, in India, in Mexico, et cetera. But at the same time, trans-Pacific ocean freight rates are as low as they've been in years and years. So, I think most of the onshoring is a result of instability in China, people not wanting exposure to that, not necessarily shipping rates.
You also had the tough trend of a lot of Chinese factories after overproduction through COVID are much drier and much, looking for work much more than they were before. So, which obviously is affecting rates. So that's also a trend that's making it difficult as well. So,
yeah. But again, that's probably a good thing, right? Our goods are cheaper. It's cheap to ship them here from China. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, I definitely a good thing for most people listening, for the American consumer. But if I'm running a business, I think still, if I had the choice between slightly higher cost of goods, but easier logistical issues and being able to get to the source faster domestically, I would pick domestic over. It seems like it would simplify things so much. This next one should be fun. So the next one's about Twitter. So let's go ahead and listen to my predictions about Twitter. And this was right when Elon, well, you'll hear it here, right after Elon purchased Twitter. And there was a whole lot of a drama over that. So let's take a listen to that. All right. So this one, Bill, I'm real interested to hear how you critique my self-grading of this one. I think for me, I came through, and again, Twitter's had so many different drama periods over the last year. At this time, this is when Elon took over. He fired 70% of the team. People thought that the thing was gonna go down in flames. And I think Twitter probably fared better in the short to medium term operationally than most people expected. Obviously, there was a lot of stuff and some turmoil and some content moderation issues, but I think they did better. I think it's hard to argue that there was not some fat that was reasonably cut in terms of the operations there. I think the other thing though, but if you look fast forward to a year, they've had 30% decline in the number of people actively tweeting. I think their advertising revenue was down 50% this summer. That was even before the most recent thing and some of Elon's more colorful comments about advertisers recently. So, man, I'm only going to give myself about 25% on this one out of 100 because, yeah, I think I still use Twitter. I know you still use Twitter. But I think overall the platform has, the rebrand to X. I mean, he's a brilliant genius and done a lot of amazing things, but I think it's harder to say Twitter is healthier today than it was a year ago. So, Bill, your thoughts?
I mean, you got to remember though, where we were a year ago, everybody was convinced you were going to load the browser tab and it wasn't going to load.
Remember that.
Right? All of the journalists were like, oh my gosh, he laid off everybody. The company's going to zero, et cetera. Yeah. And that clearly did not happen. They cut 80% of their headcount and the website is still up. So the most dire predictions did not come true, in fairness to you. And also Facebook, they launched their Threads product and for about a hot week, it looked like it might work, but it's a ghost town and everybody's right back to Twitter. So I think to some degree, is Twitter a better place than it was? Not necessarily. I think it might be a freer speech place than it was, all that's come out about all of the censorship that was going on before Elon owned it. But I don't know that it's a better place from a user experience point of view.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, all right, maybe I'll upgrade myself to 40% on that one. But the existential crisis was averted, which was a big part of the prediction. So, although maybe it's just a slower existential crisis, we'll see. All right, Bill, your next one that you had last year was about the Ecomm M&A markets. Let's go ahead and listen to that one. Bill, so did the M&A market remain sleepy throughout the year? Thoughts on this?
From my perspective, yes. I mean, even somebody going to be in the comments going, this company sold for $1 zillion. Yes, in any slow M&A market, there are exceptions. But, multiples were they didn't go back to the aggregator levels that people experienced in 2021 and early 2022. Decent businesses still sold. You can still sell an e-commerce business for, 3 to 3.5 times, kind of like it was pre-aggregator world. So I don't know. I think I'm pretty right on this, 9 or 10 out of 10. I mean, if anything, Thrasio's bankrupt now. I didn't go so far as to predict that last year, I don't think. But, Thrasio's toast. There's no bid holding these e-com multiples up like there used to be with cheap aggregator money. So I think this was spot on.
Yeah, 100%. I'll give you a 10 out of 10 out of this one. I mean, it's just been June 2022 was probably, late spring was probably the peak of M&A, and it's just fallen off of a cliff across the board. Maybe a few little shoots we're seeing a little bit more, but yeah, in general, 18 months, and especially 2023 was just, I mean, we were, as you know, we sold our interest in a company of ECF Capital the last couple of weeks, and And in doing the deal, like it was harder, it was much harder than normal to try to get an idea of like, okay, what's a reasonable valuation? Because there's just not, things are not selling as much. There's just not as many data points. So yeah, I think you nailed this one, man.
Yeah. Some businesses are still selling. Like you can still sell a business for, 3.5x or even maybe 4x, but like you're not seeing Amazon FBA businesses clear the market at 6 times, SD or anything. So it's just not happening. I think M&A has stayed pretty sleepy.
Yeah, great prediction. My prediction, next prediction, we'll go back, was about interest rates and the Fed. So let's go ahead and listen to that one. So as you heard, the Fed's going to stop raising rates in the summer of 2023. We'd probably see a couple, 25 bips, 25 basis points, or 50 basis points in 25. And I think I nailed this one. I'm going to give myself 10 out of 10 on this one. I think I got the timing right. I think I got the starting with 50 basis points in December, which is right after we recorded, and then going down to 25. So more luck than anything else. But I think this played out pretty much exactly like I predicted. Oh, it's funny. The Fed actually. Do you know what they did today, Bill? Did you see what the Fed did before we hopped on here?
They did. They're going to hold. They announced they were going to hold, and they're going to cut 3 times next year. I bet the market is through the roof.
No, did it really?
I don't know. I don't know. I just heard the news bite.
Oh my goodness. All right, we got to check this out here. Well, that puts that's unfortunate for one of my predictions.
We'll come to that in a minute. Well, but that doesn't matter because you, a year ahead of time, basically exactly predicted the Fed's actions. And I'm sure you traded on that, right? So you're picking me up for ECF Live in your private jet this year from all of your...
Oh, 100%. 100%. We took out a heat.
You should be a gazillionaire.
We took out a HELOC on the house, man. I mean, we put it all on the interest rate swaps. I mean, it's not a nice private jet. It's like, one of the smaller ones, but yeah, we'll be picking you up. So.
Great. Let's do it. Sucks to be right and not make any money because you were right.
Man, I was so excited to do this one. And then, wow, you'll hear my pain in our predictions episode here. Never has one of my predictions been proven. All right, we'll wait for
wrong on the episode. Okay, good work.
A new sense of a new level of humility is going to be coming. All right, Bill, your last one was about plugins for Zendesk or just other help desk software in the AI space. Let's listen to that one. All right, Bill. So how do you think this one played out in terms of AI and help desk technology for the year?
I think pretty much every major help desk platform has AI built in right now. So I think I crushed it. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. What do you use for your help desk or your customer support?
Funny you should ask. We are on Gorgeous. They have really rubbed me the wrong way on their pricing model, where they have basically started to try to charge $1 every time a rule runs. And then they go, well, it's because there's a GPT call behind it. And I go, no, like if this, then that is an algorithm. That's not a GPT call. You're not charging me $1 for that. So anyway, this is not a rant, but they've really rubbed me the wrong way. So we are pretty sure we're going to switch to Rich Panel right now, which has really cool built-in AI also.
Rich Panel. Okay. I hadn't even heard of them. Interesting.
I hadn't either until I think you asked on the ECF forum and got a ton of responses about Rich Panel.
Very cool. I need to go dive in there and check them out. We use Help Scout. How often we don't use, and I don't think we probably get the level of inbound tickets that you do from members and other things, but are you using their AI to answer a lot of your support queries? Or is it like, because I feel like for us, we have that technology in Help Scout. We almost completely use either pre-saved macros or a human goes in and does it, but it's not. So how much are you using that technology in Gorgeous?
Not a ton in Gorgeous. I think we're going to use it a ton in Rich Panel because they actually train a model on your history. Rich Panel does.
Ooh,
so like they're
nice.
Pulling in, as we speak, they're importing all of our old Gorgeous tickets. And then we can hit train and it'll take like a day and it trains a model on all of the old tickets. I think it's going to smash. I'm very excited about it.
That's super cool. Nice. Well, excellent prediction. My last prediction for the year was actually, no, I have 2 more. Excuse me. One was I think Shopify will either sell or fight off a hostile takeover attempt of the company in the next year. And let's go ahead and actually, instead of playing the prediction, let's go ahead and hear your rebuttal to it, which I think is still seared into my brain. So let's hear that. And Bill, I'm not sure I don't know if you saw this, but actually right after they announced the Fed was cutting 3 times next year, Shopify actually announced that they had just been acquired by Adobe, which is amazing. This saves me from the humiliation and the predictions round. So
it was going to be announced that eCommerce Fuel had initiated a hostile takeover of Shopify. eCommerce Fuel Capital's best investment, hostile takeover of Shopify.
Oh man, we're gonna have to do some fundraising for that one. So look in your inboxes soon. I've missed this one by a mile. No hostile takeover attempt. Did not sell, of course. So missed this one. Massive swing and a miss at the plate. But yeah. So well thought through, Bill. I should have listened to you.
And the stock, by the way, has doubled during the year, for what it's worth.
It has. So it is a little bit, finally ended up felt like I was very late to the party on the Shopify stock. Bought it when it was falling off a cliff 18 months ago. And that's been a good move. Do you own Shopify still?
I do still. I mean, it's not down from the highs, but it's way up from my entry point, which was like IPO price.
Oh, you got it at the IPO?
Close. Yeah.
Dang.
Still holding. Sir. I can't sell it now. The unrealized gain is absurd. I owed so many taxes.
Your last prediction, Bill, from 2023. Oh, actually, no, I think that was all your predictions. So I had one more. My final one was, I think Google is going to roll out their own chat style search option before the end of the year. Let's go ahead and give that a quick listen. And I think I get credit for this one. So it's not prominent. If you go to Google and just type in as usual, you don't see anything. But if you go into Google Labs and you enable search generative experience, you're going to get something where at first blush, it looks like it's just kind of summarizing the information for you at the top of the page, an AI style thing. But if you actually look lower, there's a little search box. You can actually ask it to do things. So I actually asked it to tell me a story about 4 or 5 random things in ChatGPT style. It spit one out for me. So not quite 100% what I was envisioning. It's not prominent. It's not mainstream yet, but I'll give myself 8 out of 10 on this one. So do you use this, Bill? Do you use SGE for Google at all?
A little bit. It's on, and it very rarely helps me, to be honest. Like their snippets were better.
Yeah, it hasn't been super impressive. I agree, but it's out there, and
but there's also, by the way, like you were totally right though. This is a 10 out of 10 because you forgot Bard. I mean, Bard is ChatGPT, but Google, the bard.google.com. This is 10 out of 10. You were right.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it's just not as prominent as you would expect it to be. So
no, but bard.google.com. It's right there. Chat's just like ChatGPT. You were exactly right. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. All right, I'll take it.